And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Punk Thomson. 100%. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Weighing In podcast, where we just witnessed the UFC from St. Louis, Missouri, the show me state, and there was a whole lot of people trying to show me that they had a whole lot of talent in there. But before we get started, my man, we do have to say that the Weighing In podcast and everyone involved, myself, Josh Thompson, Keto George, Podcast Dave, we all are sorry about the passing of Art Jimmerson, who passed away at the age of 60. Art Jimmerson, who was in the very first UFC. I've got stories with Art. He was a super nice man, one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. He actually, after a while took the name of One Glove based upon wearing one glove into the octagon when he faced off against Royce. That didn't go well. I didn't help that fight at all. I have stories about that. We'll go on with that later. But Art Jimmerson passed away. Art, rest in peace, brother. You're a beautiful human being. You were kind to everyone, and you didn't spend enough time here with us.
John, what were your thoughts when you first found out he was going to walk into the cage with a glove on? Just one.
No, I'm serious. I did not know that. There's so many stories about UFC 1 and things that happen. I did not help Art Jimmerson at all in that. I was at UFC 1, but I was there to spar with Royce. And I was there to kind of be a bodyguard to Rorion, since everybody in the Gracie family wanted to kill him. So it was my wife worked it because her mother had a travel agency at the time, so she did travel, and she did these travel packages for people and that had tickets and everything. And then there was this after party, but the after party was actually the next day. It was November 13th. Yeah, weird thing, but whatever. They were making a big thing of things. So, she had this little table, and so I just got back working out with Royce and talking to her, and I sat down at the table with her, and up walked Art Jimmerson, his wife at the time, who became a judge in MMA, and his head coach was a guy named Ernest Hart, and he started talking to me, and he points at me, he says, "You're with my opponent," and I said, "Yeah," and he said, and he starts flicking out a jab. He's wah, right? And he goes, "What's he gonna do? When that's hitting him in the face, right?" I was like, "Well, if it hits him in the face, it's not gonna be good. I'll admit that." I said, "But I go, let me ask you a question." I said, just in a normal boxing, one round, 3 minutes, how many times do you think you clinch in that one round? And he goes, "Well, I don't know. It depends on the fight." I said, "Yeah, absolutely." I said, "Sometimes maybe not at all, but probably once or twice, sometimes 10, 15. Just depends on who you're fighting, right?" I said, "In boxing, that's kind of illegal, right? You're not supposed to clinch. That's why the referee comes in and separates you." I said, "What happens when there is no rule against it?" Right? And he kind of looked at me, and Ernest Hart says, "Hey, can you kind of show him some, And there was this room, and we go to the room. I said, "Look, here, you can try to hit me, and I'll just try to, put my hands on you, kind of, off balance you a little bit, and I'll just show you a little bit." And he puts his hands, and all I did was change levels, and I went into him, and he was straight leg, so he just went right onto the ground. There was no grappling at all as far as an idea how to stop him. So I actually, I barely touched him. Boom, and he goes down, right, and so he hits the ground, and I'm over the top of him, and I'm reaching for his hand, saying, "Hey, man, I'm sorry," right? And he looks at me, his eyes went like this. He looks at me, he goes, "He's going to break my arms and legs, isn't he?" Yeah.
That's great.
And I go, "No." I said, "Look, if you start to feel pain, just tap out. It'll stop the fight." Right? And we talked a little bit graphically. Then the fight happens, and as soon as he gets mounted, he's tapping, right? Rorion is sitting in a chair over here. I'm sitting over here. And Rorion kind of looks at me like, "What the fuck was that?" Right? I'm kind of looking at him thinking, "Oh, I fucked that up." I took all that guy's confidence away from it, and I wasn't trying to, but it was he was a super nice man. And I did not know the glove whole thing until he was coming out. I had no idea they even went and bought a glove because he wanted to. They went to the stupid little, like a sporting's good to get one of those cheap-ass gloves. That was a cheap-ass Everlast glove.
So it just didn't make sense. I mean, like, when I was first watching, I'm like, why does this guy have one glove on? And then they started
because he was going to take that and jab with that hand so it wouldn't hurt his hand and hit him with the right hand.
Wouldn't you want your right hand not to be hurt, though, more so than your jab hand?
You would think.
It just didn't make sense to me. And I was young. I think I was only like 17 at the time or something. I'm like,
I don't think it made sense to anyone.
I was like, what's going on? This is kind of weird. Like, why are you wearing one glove? Like, if you can grab and you can use your hands, like, that's the point of, like, fighting. I couldn't wrap my head around it. And then the fight was over so quick. I was like, all right, the one glove didn't really work.
But one glove was a bad idea.
Well, it kind of like when I was listening to the announcers, they kept saying, "Oh, he doesn't want to hurt his hand." I'm like, "Well, then why are you fighting?" Like that was my other thing. I was like, "What? Like, why are you fighting?"
You know, you got to go through the whole thing with UFC 1. Art Davie being the guy that was the matchmaker. He was the owner, half owner of it. He was the matchmaker. He could not get an American boxer to get into it. And they were trying to show, because everyone in the United States really, what they'd seen as far as combat was boxing, and they were trying to get Bone Crusher Smith, and they kind of had him for a little bit, and then he pulled out, and they were trying and Art Jimmerson was actually a pretty well-known cruiserweight. He was doing well. He had good fights against, really good fighters. He got some wins. When he went in for like a championship fight, he lost. But he was a decent one, but they had to pay him, and everyone looked at it like it was, the $50,000 was the grand prize. The $50,000 was the winning purse for, they thought one person, but they paid Art Jimmerson, some money to actually compete in it.
I mean, that's the one thing that boxing's has always had over all the other combat sports, is that it can bring in money. Yeah. And but it's also been around for 150 years? I'm sure longer than that, but I mean, like historically, I think
if you look at, if you're going to go back all the way to, Marcus of Queensberry rules and things like that, you're talking over 250 years. Man.
Really, that far back?
Yeah, 1700s, man. Well, actually, no, because if you're talking market, when you're thinking about gloves and things like that, you're getting just past, John L. Sullivan was the heavyweight champion. That was bare knuckle. Then when he fought with gloves, he lost it and stuff. So
interesting.
But
it's funny how gloves, right, can change a person's career. Just ask Mike Perry.
Hey,
right. It makes a difference.
But come on, it does. You take a look at all this stuff, and the ability to defend yourself while wearing gloves is immensely easier than it is to defend yourself with a bare hand. Yeah. And just everything about it. The punches slip through them. You guys, bring guards right through the middle of it. With a glove, it hits. Yeah. And there's so many different things.
It makes a difference even with the 4-ounce gloves, the MMA gloves. Yeah. It makes a difference. You don't realize how much it does. Just the deflection, their pad against your pad kind of skips it off. Also,
takes some torque off of it. Takes the speed off of it.
When you first started sparring, how old were you?
First time I ever sparred?
First time, 8 years old. Okay, let's just say like those first couple times you sparred.
Yeah, well, it wasn't pretty.
Did you hit yourself a couple times?
Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Absolutely.
I felt like the biggest idiot. I had sparred like I with my cousins, but it was like just fastest windmill one. So there was really no like hitting yourself. It was like you were getting clocked a lot by just fastest windmill in the playground kind of thing. But then when I really tried sparring, like a lot of it was me hitting myself. My hands are up, and the guys would hit my gloves, and the gloves would hit me in the face.
Hit you in the face.
It was just nonstop. And I thought I was getting my ass kicked. I was like, bro.
No, that's defense.
It was literally like,
that's defense, baby.
I felt like fucking Chris Tucker on fucking Rush Hour or whatever. Which one of y'all motherfuckers kicked me or hit me? Yeah. It was like that. I was like, man, I'm getting hit all over the place. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this guy sucks, man. And I'm like, I'm getting smashed. Then I just, now that I know, I was just punching myself.
Yeah, and while you weren't punching yourself, you were getting hit in the glove, and the glove was smacking you back. Mm-hmm. actually, there's times when even Tyson Fury, they've got when he was in a professional fight, he throws an uppercut and hits himself right in the face. Now that's hitting yourself.
I mean, John, there was the what are they called? The little wobbly balls. What are they called? Is the ball with the ball in the middle?
A double end bag.
The what?
Double end
the
bag.
double end
a
bag.
double end bag.
So I'd hit that thing all the time. Like I would spend probably at least 45 minutes to an hour on it to either warm up or to cool down.
Yeah, but that's just touching.
You're right. But Javier would also, I was getting to that. Javier would also say, hey, I want you to clinch it and knee it. So hold on, like you're holding on to someone's head and then hold it down and then bring your knee straight up the middle like Instant Inouye and Frank Shamrock. Okay, knee that. Boom, right up the middle. Boom. Okay. John, you know how many times my knee was so sweaty it slipped off, hit myself in the face?
See, I never had that problem because I couldn't bring my knee up high enough to smack.
John, I thought one time I broke my nose. I swear to you, blood started coming out. I was like, oh, man, my face was swollen for like 2 days. I might have fractured. I never went in to check, but it was brutal. All right, look, we got off track. Back to Art.
But
look, I remember watching him. I'm thinking to myself, why would you wear the glove, especially after you got taken down? You need your hands to fight, all of these things. And I was like, okay, it kind of makes sense. He's a professional boxer. He's got to worry about, going back to boxing and be able to make a living. And I was like, okay, but I'm like, if you knew you were just going to go back to boxing, you really didn't seem like you really cared. And this is me at like, I don't know, 14, 15, 16 years old, something like that. When, let's see, 92, 93, right? Was when the first UFC was?
Yep.
Yeah, so I was a freshman in high school. Yeah, so freshman in high school. So I was 14. Yeah, so I just remember watching going, damn, like this is insane. But it was so cool, man. It was so cool to watch. And he specifically stood out. Him and the Savate guy, Jargado. And the Samoan guy, obviously, who missed the tooth because it shot off out of the front.
Multiple teeth.
Yes, multiple teeth. But I mean, those are the ones that ring the bell the most. And obviously, Royce. But I want to go back into the history of the sport. Where would we be if Royce didn't win that first tournament?
That's it's everything, and it's where would we be if Art Jimmerson wasn't one of those people? That basically, I told this to Art long after the UFC won and everything, and at a time when he, I got to see him multiple times throughout, my time moving around and refereeing and stuff, and he was going through a hard time with what the internet and what people said about him, and that he looked ridiculous in the one glove and stuff. And I told him, I said, hey man, I want you to think about what you did. I said, you stepped into what's called the unknown. That's the scariest damn thing there is. Yeah. I said, because you didn't know how to fight this way. I said, you were fighting a guy that basically grew up with a family that kind of, invented what they were doing with this show. I said, and, everyone kind of thought it was going to be fake at some point and everything like that. I said, and it wasn't. I said, there's only certain people that can sit there and say, you know what, I took that step. I go, I always looked at Chuck Yeager as the guy who broke the speed of sound. It was the X-15, plane that he was in. And, there was many physicists that told him at the time, hey, we don't know what's going to happen. It could be that as you reach that speed, it's like hitting a brick wall and the plane's just going to blow apart. But he went and did it. And he broke the speed of sound. And you look at, and I told him, I said, you were one of those guys. I said, Art Davey, compared you guys to, X-15, test pilots that, hey, all of you that went out there and did it, man, you need to be recognized as you started this sport. Because if it wasn't for you guys, all the people, all of them, from the Randy Couture's to the Chuck Liddells to the John Joneses, they wouldn't have had this. You wouldn't have had this. You wouldn't have had the life that you've lived. You wouldn't have the things that you have. You wouldn't be where you're at because the sport would not have grown the way it did based upon what those guys did. Yeah, it wasn't the prettiest. It wasn't the same, and it wasn't as good as it is now. But those guys did something special.
Absolutely. I mean, when you start thinking about they were the first people to help start a new sport, and that new sport provided thousands of jobs, and
thousands upon thousands.
And let's just not be mistaken, it's made millionaires now.
Oh yeah,
you know, that's what it's done. It's created a little tiny economy, I guess. You know, as you could say, like for
a huge.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Think about the economy that it's made, and when you talk about this, you know, when you have a UFC now, we'll say UFC 300. Do you realize what UFC 300 brings to the city of Las Vegas, since that's where it was at? Do you realize the revenue that comes with that show being there? So cities, when St. Louis in the show we just watched, the revenue that show brings to the city, just in hotels, in restaurants that are, you know, people are coming there to see the show and they're going out to eat, just everything. This is how the economy moves, and MMA now is a huge part of moving that economy based upon where the shows are at.
I mean, let's just figure, what does the T-Mobile hold? 18,500, somewhere around there?
Yeah.
Somewhere around there?
19,000.
Okay, 19,000. They did almost 20 million at the gate.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's not counting all those 19,000 people went out to a club, to a restaurant, to a drink, walked through a casino. They spent that.
Yeah, bought stuff at the damn arena, paid for parking, all the things.
Yeah, they cashed in. So that not only did the arena cash in and the fighters but the casinos, the parking. I mean, like I said, it creates a little economy that helps provide for everyone, and Art was part of that. He was the guy. He's one of the reasons why. And I'd have to say this: outside of Hoist, he's probably the one that is the most not recognizable face wise, but the one that people would say, "Oh yeah, the guy with the one glove."
Yeah.
You know, like when you think back about that, like that's the thing that kind of gave it a little bit of the credibility. It was a real boxer, and he proved that he was a real boxer by coming out with the one glove. Now, maybe it was obviously not the biggest,
a bad idea.
It was a horrible idea. It was not the best idea, but at that time, none of these guys really knew what they were getting themselves into. You know, they didn't know Hoist on the other side. They didn't know shit about grappling. They didn't know anything about jiu-jitsu. They didn't know they could be, you know, choked with the gi. You know, they didn't know those things. And so, like you said, to give him credit where credit is due, to go out there into the unknown and just lay it on the line, do what you could, realize, oh man, it wasn't my night, like, and move on. But that helped catapult this sport into what it is now. And I got to go back and to say this about when I was younger. This sport came at the right time, John. Like, honestly, I would have joined the military. I did not want to go and work in like a cubicle. And I had a cubicle job for a while, and I worked in a little cubby hole in the back. And I was just like, man, can you imagine me with the amount of energy I have and the amount of, like, there's just no way. I just would have never have worked.
ADD?
Yeah, I just would have never have worked, man. My life would have been miserable. This sport came at the right time. It provided so much for me, my family, you know, I mean, like even for my, you know, like my brothers and sisters, I mean, I was able to do things for them. Even though I wasn't making a ton when it first started, but it was enough to kind of help, you know, do things, you know, for my younger brothers and my younger sister and all the little things that I needed to send money for, you know, whatever it was. But it made a difference. And he's one of the biggest reasons why this sport was able to get traction and keep going. I mean, because everyone looked at him and they looked at, you know, the big Samoan guy. What was his name? The one that got his tooth knocked out.
Taylor Tooley. Taylor Wiley's his real name.
Okay, and then you got Savat guy.
Gerard
Godot. Like, you have these fighters, and they brought so much to the actual cage, and it gave all of us something to do now that we're talking 30 years later. And I feel
Ken Shamrock with the Greek god physique.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, people ask all the time, Ken made his career that night. The loss didn't matter. It was what he said during the interview after it, where they were trying to say, well, you're probably the second, do you consider yourself at least the second best fighter here? And he goes, no. He goes on, he says, I'm not in the finals. That belongs to somebody else. He says, you can say I'm the third best or something like that. But he was very, very well spoken as far as not taking credit for something, giving, a good response, which made people, in my opinion at the time, hey, I like that guy. Yeah. He looks good. I like the way he, has, performed. Yeah, he lost, but then I love the way that he took that loss and made it what it is and says he's going to learn from it and move on. Ken Shamrock made his career that night.
Well, rest easy, Art, and wish you the best. Wish hopefully your family's doing well, and you'll be missed, my friend.
Prayers to you and your family, brother.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about UFC Fight Night.
Let's do it.
What number is this?
Well, this is UFC Fight Night on ESPN.
I don't know.
So I'm not sure what number it is.
George, you know what number this is? Like 98, 90.
No, I thought it was Ultimate Fight Night in St. Louis.
Okay, Ultimate Fight Night.
Did it have a number?
I don't know. Doesn't say. There's so many damn cards. Just call them UFC Night.
Oh, I know. Well, let's talk about the Black Beast, the man who took his shorts off once again, the guy who threw his groin protector at the media. I don't know if that was a thing of love or hate, or if it was just a spur of the moment thing. But Derek Lewis taking on Rodrigo Nascimento. We looked at this fight and thought, if Nascimento's going to win this thing, he's going to do it by getting Derek Lewis to the ground, kind of like what we saw with, Jailton Almeida. It just, he got him there. He just wasn't able to do anything with him, really. And then when he was in the stand-up, he was taking big shots. And the one that bounced off, his dome, it was right at the temple. You know what that's like. It disrupts your equilibrium. It makes, you get this boom, 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 and that flash. And he just couldn't recover from that. Derek Lewis was all over him. And that's why Derek Lewis has more KOs than anybody that's ever fought in the UFC.
It's, Derek Lewis is a beast, man. And not to piggyback
They should
off,
call him that.
Yeah, not to piggyback off of his nickname. But look, I had a lot of concerns going in this fight. I was concerned that he would possibly get taken down. I was concerned he'd be put on his back. And I've seen him explode out of things and get out and then get back to the top position. We've seen that. Yeah. But something just as of lately, like I feel like he is a little bit checked out. Like he's been coming in, obviously now we found out tonight that a lot of it was his shoulders were messed up. He went and got stem cells. Obviously they're feeling a little bit better now. Camp's been a little bit better. All of these things make a huge difference on how you perform or how you're able to get ready for your fight. So if my shoulders are messed up, obviously I'm not hip escaping. I'm not framing you away. I can't push you. Yeah. I can't snap my jab. I mean, I remember I took a fight one time and I was getting ready for the fight. It was right after Luke Rockhold had tried to whizzer me down, and I felt something pop in my shoulder. And I had a slap tear in my left shoulder. And I was sparring with Rob McCullough. I was down there helping him get ready for the Jamie Varner fight. And I snapped the jab out at Rob, and my whole shoulder just popped out of socket. I never had anything feel like that before. And it was just like whoop, whoop, and then kind of fell out.
Oh, it went back
and then,
in.
Yeah, then I went to almost lift it, and it just sucked right back in. And I was like, oh, okay, good. But then I just kept, I was like, okay, it kind of hurts a little bit, but it didn't, it was fine, And then as I started doing more things, as I started moving around a little bit more, thinking I could do more, I was like, okay, I babied it for a half a day, and then I went back the next day. I was like, okay, it's good. And then it felt like it was going to keep coming out.
So you healed in a day.
Yeah, I thought maybe. I was still young. I was still young. People talk about the young healing power, but look, I understand what Derek Lewis was going through, and not being able to do the things that you can do. And so I got concerned. I was actually encouraged when I saw him trying to get the takedown, because him on top, and we've talked about this.
Oh, he's nasty.
What we said, who has the most vicious ground and pound in the game? Probably that guy.
Derek Lewis.
Probably that guy.
Yeah.
And so
most dangerous.
I look at him, I'm like, man, every time I've seen him get on top of people, if he can hold them down a little bit, long enough to land one or two punches, he'd change the outcome of a fight real quick. And so him doing what he did today, he did a good job of mixing it up, a little bit of wrestling, a little bit of clinch work, some nice elbows on off the break. He did a great job, man. And also did look like he was not getting tired. I just lost my screen there, George.
Everyone did.
Okay. But yeah, so I mean, like I like what he did. I like what he was doing. And he looked fantastic.
He's just the one thing, when you're looking at him, when you're watching him. First off, he's very, and they talked about it. He's concerned with getting tired, and it's the worst thing in the world when you're fighting. When you're exhausted and you got lead for arms, you can't pick your arms up. It's a horrible feeling. Well, he's gotten to that point where he at least knows, even if he's in a bad spot, how to relax. And that makes a huge difference when you're fighting him now. Because before he would do a lot of, I'm going to buck out, I'm going to get out of here. And he was burning energy to the point where he never recovered from that burn energy. Now, he doesn't really even hardly burn that energy. He'll take some shots and everything, and he'll go with, the fact of I'll stay underneath, I'll just wait for the round to end and get back up. And he does that all the time, but it's working for him. It didn't work for him against Almeida, but like, you said, bad shoulders, I guess he was on a damn antibiotic for some kind of infection with his ears or something. So not a good combination.
Yeah. I mean, anytime you're on antibiotics, it makes a difference on anything you do. Doesn't matter if it's training, doesn't matter if it's the fight. Yeah. I mean, it zaps your energy. You have a good 3/4 of a round in you, maybe. And then after that, it's just you're hoping you can get breaths in. You're hoping your muscles will come back to not being fatigued, and long enough to throw a good 5-punch, 6-punch combination, maybe get a takedown and stall some more. So I understand exactly where he's coming from.
Yeah.
Until you can get some more breath.
It's true.
But there was a little bit of a threat because when I looked at Nascimento, he was also somebody that just didn't seem like anything was really phasing him. That when Derek Lewis was hitting him, it didn't seem like anything was phasing him. He's like, okay, I'm good. Like, okay, I'm rolling with the punches. Nothing's really catching me clean. But then as he got tired, and Derek Lewis doesn't look like he's someone that can move fast, but man, he's explosive. Yep. That guy is extremely explosive. And so when he hits the mark, it's lights out. And we saw that. We saw that again tonight. Just bink, bink. Perfect. Then, he's just got that power. Nothing you can do about that. Yeah. Nothing you can do about that.
It's exactly it. It's like, hey, if that power hits you flush, which it did, it's going to hurt just about anyone. That's where you've got to put something on it to deflect and take some of that torque and that power off of it. And if you don't, it's possibility of it, putting you down and you waking up, looking up at lights and an ugly referee.
A John McCarthy.
There you go.
Looking up at a John McCarthy. All right, what was the next fight?
Oh, we had Joaquin Buckley taking on Ruziboev. I'll tell you what, Joaquin Buckley in this fight, I was a little bit. I know he wanted to get on the card. He just had a great fight where he looked really good. He's coming back fast, and Ruziboev being a really tough dude, 6'5", long, lanky, as you talk about all the time. Yep. He's got good submissions. He's got good stand up. Joaquin Buckley had some problems, with him in the first round, but he absolutely was able to rectify the problems that he was having and figure out a way to close the distance, and big looping shots that ended up doing a lot of damage. And he looked good throughout the fight. He won the first round, but he won it with, the couple takedowns, but he got up. And you look and you go, there was a couple things in there as far as, fouls. He got fouled with the kicks from the bottom, But I tell you what, he's in that position that we talk about all the time. We can talk about it. When Bellator let go of Joaquin Buckley, both of us said, what in the fuck are you doing? Because we looked at it and said, dude, that guy can fight. Yeah. He's good. And he's proving it. He's been proving it, since he's been in the UFC, and now he's got that supreme confidence that he knows I can fight with anybody.
Well, I think the conversation with Bellator was 170 or 185, and I think he wanted to be at 85. And it's like we don't need you at 85. We need you to be somewhere else. And so if that's the conversation, if you can't beat him if you're not going to make 170, then you just go ahead. And if you're not dedicated enough to keep making 170, I think that was the conversation with him.
Maybe.
But regardless, all of that, it's working out for him perfectly. He's put in the work. Now he's where he should be, is at 170. I didn't like this style of fight because Ruziboev is a big, tall, long, lanky guy. the knees up the middle. Buckley tends to dip his head a little bit straight down as he kind of wings his shots.
Yep.
He lunges in a little bit too. But you know what? I said this in a tweet that I sent out. He's fighting the smartest I've ever seen him fight when he was fighting that fight tonight. He had a great game plan, stay composed. He exploded when he needed to. He didn't leave himself out of position too many times, only about 2 or 3 times. But I thought he did a great job. He didn't jump in with his head down because there was opportunities to get kneed in the face. He did a great job of keeping on the game plan and understanding like how important it was to get this win. I've been in that position, John. Like, how many times have you seen fighters that are fighting in their hometown and then all of a sudden it's just it's a dump. So a huge adrenaline dump. And I was expecting that from him. Never got it. He fought so smart.
Well, and the thing when you're talking about he fought smart, it's a matter of, I mean, he's in that position where he's got to find a way to get past the thing. And he's actually a counter striker.
Yeah.
That's what he does best. And then he's up against a guy in Ruziboev who is trying to be a counter striker. So they're both kind of standing there. And at one point he says, come on, man. As far as because they're both waiting and you can get that boring fight. And he changed things up to make it to where things were happening in the fight that made him become successful. And he got out of the counter fighting and became the guy that was the one that was going to initiate those engagements. And that's why he won the fight.
Where I think he excelled, Buckley, I think that Menifield failed.
Well, you look at that and you go, oh, that was just a bad idea. And that wasn't in his game plan. It's not what he and Pat Barry had come up with. Hey, we're going to run across there and just start freaking trying to, overrun this guy. That wasn't the game plan.
John, he ran his face into the cage.
He also got hit with a clubbing shot with the forearm over the head. That hurt him. It hurt him. No doubt about it.
And then running his face into the cage because of that was not, definitely doesn't make, and people were like, oh, he just hit his face. No, it hurts.
No. Oh, no.
And it sends a shock down your spine. You get that little flash a little bit, and then also, too, the crate over the face on the way the chain link hits your face, that shit hurts. It feels like your whole face is cut. You got little cuts everywhere, but you don't, but I'm saying you could, but in this case he didn't. He came out too aggressive. You got to give it time to develop. I've always said that. I've always said that. Like, even for not just myself, or even all our young fighters that we had coming out of AK, let the fight develop. Don't go chasing after it. If you got 15 minutes, that's a lot of time.
Well, you get those fights like Masvidal against Askren, which was, hey, that was planned. Hey, I'm gonna attempt this flying knee at the beginning. And Fabricio Verdum used to do it all the time, run across with a flying kick and everything. And look, if it lands and it gets the knockout, then everyone's like, oh. But it can also put you in a position that's bad, and you could end up having a really bad round, or the end of the fight. And that's what happened with Menifield. I think, look, Menifield knows it was a mistake. His coaches know it was a mistake. Carlos Ulberg is a good kickboxer, good striker. He's gotten better with his MMA. He's looking good right now. If you put those two back together, obviously I don't think Menifield would have the same game or same thought process at the beginning of the fight to go run across at him. But, this is part of learning in the fight game. And you're going to make mistakes. Yeah. And those mistakes sometimes you can get away with, and sometimes they cost you dearly. This one cost him 12 seconds of his life that he would like to get back.
I don't want to skip over. Like, I know we talked about Buckley and Ruziboev, but I also don't want to skip over. Ruziboev is a very talented fighter, extremely talented. I'm excited to see where he
going back to Ruziboev.
I have to real quick, John, only because I expected Buckley to just blow his wad. I expected him to push and leave himself out of position. And Ruziboev, I don't think expected him to be as explosive and to use the takedowns that he did. Those takedowns came easily. It looked like Buckley was just a fucking NC2A champ. That's how easy those things came. I mean, he was taking him down at will. It was body lock, double leg, flare. I mean, he was doing great. And when he got to top position, he did some good stuff as well. Also didn't leave himself out of position. But Ruziboev, though, did a great job, especially in the beginning of the fight, getting himself back up to his feet. I mean, they had some good scrambles, and the end of that fight was fantastic, especially that last, 25 seconds where the up kicks, they weren't legal. They weren't illegal. They didn't land to the head, but they were damn close.
The first one did.
The first one did? Okay.
First one not only landed the head, landed to the back of his head.
Yeah. Who's watching?
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of debauchery tonight from the refs.
Debauchery.
It was a bunch of crap.
There was a lot of things that were left as far as go ahead.
Yeah. The Diego fight was one of them.
Yeah,
but, we'll talk about that. But overall, I thought
you love it. You love the clash of heads.
I know. But Ruziboev, look, I think he's got a bright future. He's gonna have to work a little bit off. He's got 13 submissions to his name. So I was expecting a little bit more off the back from him. But then also too, Buckley being the shorter, compact guy, very difficult to deal with.
Super strong.
He made it look easy tonight with the wrestling. Very smart game plan. Lights out. Congratulations to him. I know how difficult it is to fight in your hometown, not get the adrenaline dump, just try to stay on the game plan. Crowd's going crazy. I mean, and the fact that he was asking for this and begging for it and showed up at UFC 300 and got it. Those are all things that look, if you want something to happen in this sport these days, the reality is you got to make it happen.
Yeah.
Because they're not
gotta manifest it.
Yeah, you've got to make it happen. If you're at a UFC event, show up at the weigh-ins, show up at the pressers and do that type of shit. Remember after George St. Pierre got on his knees and begged for the fight with Matt Hughes? Guess what?
Yes.
Every motherfucker was out there on their knees after their fight begging for fights.
It's true.
This game is a rinse, wash, repeat game. Somebody does something, they see it works. Fuck, everyone piggybacks off of it. Okay, who we want to fight next? Fuck, I want to fight Conor McGregor. Everybody it's like, who do you like? It just doesn't matter.
Hello, Joaquin Buckley.
Yeah, they're all copying, man. Everybody copies each other in this sport. On show how to beat someone, that's how they just copy it. This is how that person won. I'm going to do it. It's a rinse, wash, repeat game, and until something new comes along, and then they try to piggyback on that to get them some success. But look, good for him. I'm glad he got the win. I thought he looked fantastic. Probably the best fight I've ever seen him fight, at least in terms of fight IQ wise.
Fight IQ is
brilliant. All right, so we talked about Alonzo Menifield and Carlos Ulberg. Just not a good
all 12 seconds.
Yeah, it just wasn't much to talk about other than the fact that Menifield he chased after it, made a mistake, and Ulberg capitalized. Good on him. Did what
he was supposed to do.
But the fight that I liked the most,
this was a great
turnaround
fight. Well, what a turnaround.
Absolutely.
Because the first round for Diego was tough.
Well, Johnny took a page out of my book. Never won the first round of my life.
He took a lot of shots. He took some damage. He was hurt, and hung tough, in it. But I'll tell you what, the second and third round, it was almost like no energy was expended at all. I mean, he had a full gas tank, and just the volume of shots that he was putting on, I mean, it was incredible as far as how he just kept building and making it worse. And then you saw the damage that was happening, Mateus, and you go, wow, I mean, these things are having a serious effect. Just a great performance. For a guy 39 years of age, dude. 39. Great performance against, a once-defeated fighter?
John, he's got 5 kids. Diego does.
He's got mouths to feed.
Yeah, he's got not only mouths to feed, but he's chasing after all them damn kids. So he's got to be in cardio shape. Okay, he's running around. He's got one that's 20, and he's got one that's, he said, base
6 months.
Yeah, 6 months. What are you doing?
Well, I know what he's doing.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, he's putting in the work. Let's go. I mean, look, 5 kids. That'll keep you on your toes. If you're not at home chasing them around, you're in the gym getting after it. So good for him. I'm glad he got the win. I've always said this about him. He's durable. He's somebody that comes to fight. He will be there in the 3rd round or the 5th round, whatever it is. He's never gotten the respect he deserves. I remember when he first kind of exploded onto the scene, I was like, yeah, I'm not impressed. I was like, Then I realized what he was doing. He's somebody that like he doesn't really care if he wins the first round. He understands this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. As long as I can weather whatever it is you're doing in the first round, and even Laura Seiko was talking about it. I've seen him get his butt kicked in the first round, come back in the second and third, and just dominate the fight from then on. That's exactly what he did. He didn't get his butt kicked in this fight in the first round, but he played it very safe because he didn't want to get hit with those big shots. And he still caught a couple strays, in that first round. But man, he looked good. I thought he looked very composed. He looked like he was fucking 31, 32 years old, kind of coming into his prime. He was fucking shredded too. I was like, look at this dude. Look at this dude. So
he's RDA junior, man.
Congratulations to him. Though.
I mean, he's got the full game. Mm-hmm. Look, he can stand up and he can throw hands, and he throws beautiful kicks, to set things up. He's got a great ground game. His jits is fantastic. If you're gonna say anything is his weakest, it's his wrestling, and it's not bad. Mm-mm. So he's got the full toolbox to go with, and he absolutely. This is where you take a look at a veteran fighter taking on a guy that's really on the rise, but that guy on the rise has never met that guy that can continue to step on the gas pedal, and every minute of the fight he builds it a little bit more and builds it a little bit more and puts you into that deficit that you just can't get out of. And that's what, they kept on saying Rębecki. It looks like Rębecki to me, but Rębecki just could not maintain it as far as the output. You got to figure that fight had a lot of action throughout it.
Well, when you have someone who is that explosive, and John, I don't know how many times you've seen this happen inside the cage, as the fight goes on that they're going to start to lose steam. You've been in the cage multiple times with Conor McGregor, and that's his MO, right? Is that he just tends to lose steam after round two. And even sometimes after round and a half. He's not the same fighter in round three as he was in round one, that's for sure.
God gives gifts to everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, when you are a fast twitch muscle fiber athlete like a Conor McGregor, and he is, look, that's why he's got speed. That's why he's got power. Those two things are come to, as a fast, but there is with every payoff, there's something that is going to work against you. And that cardio, you just cannot maintain. It's the difference between a marathon runner and a sprinter. Obviously the sprinter is faster overall, but he cannot run anywhere close to as far as the marathon runner.
This is true. And Diego is definitely the marathon runner. And Rębecki is somebody that
he's a sprinter.
But he also put it on himself, though, John. He could have stayed in the center of the cage and let the fight develop. He was chasing after him that whole first round, and this is what happens when fighters are first come in and there's a lot of hype around them. They come into the UFC, there's a lot of hype around them. They've got power. They've got how many wins and one or no losses, and now they're in the big stage or they're on the main card. They're fighting someone who is been in the rankings, like someone who has got a big name to them. You either sink or swim. And this is one of those moments where he's like, look, I can get this guy out of here. He's not that great. Like this, you start believing it all. You've got to remember these guys got hours, countless hours inside that cage. And it's not the same hours if you fought at the LFA or these small little shows around the Dana White Contenders. That's not those hours. Sure, they count. But they're not the same as the amount of hours that Diego has inside that cage against top-tier fighters. It's just not the same. And so the MO for Diego is to take his lumps in the first round, try to do the best he can, survive, but keep the pace, keep it going, make sure that you're constantly working, and now just start taking over. Just touching you a little bit. It's the whole way that Nate Diaz and Nick Diaz made their career. Let me just stay busy with you. Let me just, swat you around a little bit. Let me give you the Stockton slap. Let me show you who the daddy is. And then, and then round 2, 3, 4, okay, I'm going to start putting it on you. And sure enough, that's how they made a career out of it. Diego's there, man. 39 years old. What a stud. Yeah, so, congratulations.
Well, you're going to talk about the Stockton slap and the just putting shots out there and winning rounds. Sean Woodson going up against Alex Caceres.
Oh, wait. No, sorry. Yeah. Back to the Diego thing. Let's go to the headbutt. Yes. We didn't talk about the headbutt.
You're the one that didn't.
No.
Okay.
I want to talk about it because this is I got to get a rest perspective on this. The fighter grabs his head. Obviously, he was hurt. The ref knows it was a headbutt.
Yes.
Why doesn't he stop and say, look, let's give you guys both a second to recover, clash of heads?
Well, one of the things that I have always had a problem with MMA referees is they allow headbutts or incidental clash of heads to occur and have one person actually give see if I'm bleeding, once you have where you see it has impacted a person, they are in some way affected by it. You go stop time and you put them to their corners and you check on them and you make sure they're okay. Because if you recall, right after
that was where I was going with this.
He got put on his butt. Did it have a partial effect to that? It's a possibility. If you see it and you see no reaction from either, that's when you say, hey, watch your heads inside. Be careful with your heads. Because there was no, any type of, motion or thought process by either fighter about it. Okay. Once you see it, like you saw exactly what you're talking about, absolutely that referee should be stopping the contest, putting those people to neutral corners, going up and making sure that each one is okay. Do we need to bring a doctor in to look at one or the other or both, and then see if we can get the fight restarted? One of the ones that Mo Law was fighting Seth Petrozelli in Bellator, and they had a huge clash of heads that put Seth down, and Mo went after him. And I stopped the fight on the headbutt, called time, stopped it, but everyone thought I was ending the fight, giving Mo the win. And I told Mo, hey, it was a headbutt. It's a timeout. The fight is not over at this moment. Collect yourself. Bring Seth over. Go over to, doctor. Have the doctor come in. I check on Mo. He's fine. He got a hard head. And then, go to Seth. And finally Seth says, yeah, he's good to go. And then Seth gets kind of put down, and one shot, boom, and he was stiff. Yeah. And there's no doubt in my mind, part of that was based upon what that clash of heads did to him, because he got hurt by it. And then you've got to give people time.
I mean, anytime a headbutt rocks you a little bit, gives you that flash, you need to take that moment. You need to take that moment. And honestly, even if you take the moment, it may not even be long enough. It has a direct effect on what your chin can take after that.
Yes, it does.
And
it does.
No matter what someone tells you, it does.
Going back, since we talk about yours all the time with Patricky, it was the one thing that, because I did go and I went to the commission and I told him, hey, look, I didn't see it at the moment that it happened. I saw them come together. I wasn't sure whether it was a clash of heads or the left hand. I polled the judge. He told me it was nothing. Then I looked at the replay and I go, that was a freaking clash of heads. And it was, the way that you got up was, and you look at this and they go, no. The way he got up was that was technically perfect. He could not have been hurt. Right. And so the fact that you got up technically perfect, because you did you kept yourself, swung your leg, I got up beautifully. And then, you got, end of the fight happened. But, I was like, don't you think that that's just years of training?
20 years of every day.
Just years of training. But that was really what it came down to. Now look at the way he got up from it. So he wasn't hurt.
Fucking idiots in the commission.
and me for letting it happen.
I was more, honestly, I was more frustrated when I went to the hearing and the commission, the people there, they didn't want to hear anything. They were like, oh no, like you look like you're okay. And I'm like, let me headbutt you and let me see if you get up and walk around and be okay. Come here.
It's funny because look, you can have those clash of heads. It doesn't affect you at all. It's no big deal.
This is true.
And you can have the ones, man, they seriously affect you.
Yeah, I saw in that moment, I think it was, who was the ref, Gary Copeland? I think it was Copeland.
It was.
And he's batting 1,000 these days. Just at that moment when you see them clash, I was wondering, shouldn't he have just stepped in and said, hey, I'm going to give you guys both, 30 seconds, a minute, shake the cobwebs out. Let's get this fight started again.
Make sure that everyone's okay.
Yeah, because he got dropped literally like 10 seconds, not even 10 seconds later. Yeah, 5 seconds later. Yeah. And I'm like, that was a direct effect because of the clash.
No doubt about it.
So
no doubt about it.
all right, let's go. Alex Caceres versus Sean Woodson.
Good fight.
Did you have it scored the way you had it?
I had it scored the way I had it.
The way they had it?
No.
Okay.
I had Alex Caceres winning.
Me
the
too.
fight. I thought Alex Caceres won the second, and I actually thought he won the third.
Yeah, me too.
I thought Sean Woodson had moments in the third. It was close, but I actually thought Caceres landed the better shots. Overall, I thought Woodson in the first round lit him up.
Yeah.
Just lit him up. And I thought he did a lot of the damage in that first round. You could see the damage on his face. But at the end of the fight, that was about the same damage, and he wasn't lighting him. He was having a lot more trouble. Caceres made the commitment of, hey, okay, I'm either all the way out or all the way in. I cannot be at a boxing range with this guy, and he's now even kicking my legs and stuff, and he's doing these things. He's too long. I've got to make that step inside. And when he did, and he started throwing his hands, he was effective. He actually got inside the range that Woodson felt comfortable with, and he was having a problem.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really close fight. I mean, it's definitely not a robbery, but I actually had it where I had Woodson winning the first round, and I had Caceres winning the second. So the third round was up for the fight was up for grabs in my estimation.
Yeah, I thought it was the way that Caceres started going to the body that had a direct effect on how Woodson was his output. Not just his output, he just wasn't able to let his hands go as much because he was afraid of getting hit to the body. Something happened in that second round where Caceres kept hitting him off of the right into the as he was coming in. He'd jab to the body or he'd throw the hook and then go to the body afterwards. And I was like, this is nice. This is good work.
Yeah.
When you have someone tall and lanky like that, it's a little bit easier to get in there. There's a lot more of that little twigginess to hit. And so he was able to get in there and touch the body, and that started having a change on how much output that Woodson put out. So it was nice. I thought he did a great job. I had it for Caceres also. Rounds 2 and 3 went to Caceres. I had Woodson obviously winning the round 1. But man, when they said 30-27, I said, "What fucking fight were you watching?"
Dude, I was like, how in the world did you whatever? But I was impressed because I did not think that Alex Caceres could win that fight if he didn't take it to the ground. He didn't win it. He didn't win officially, but dude, he was right there. And on my scorecard, I actually had him winning.
Why do you think he didn't take this fight to the ground?
I don't know. I really don't. But obviously he was able to. His stand-up was effective, and he was able to. Create problems for Sean. So I thought that Sean was he was going to be very difficult for Alex to deal with in the stand-up because he's so long and he's awkward and he throws things from different, his legs are just, he's got a freaking torso that's probably fucking 18 inches. He's all legs, long arms, but Caceres did a great job and he didn't take it to the ground. And obviously he made a fight of it without that happening. And I wasn't too sure he could. It's funny because I was looking at the Caceres fight and then when we got to the Buckley fight, I was like, it's very similar issues. You're having to deal with that person that's extremely tall, long, and they know how to use it at all, which Woodson does, even more so than Ruziboev. But I mean, Woodson looked fantastic in that first round. I was like, oh man, Caceres is going to need to wrestle. I was expecting him to use his stand-up to at least start to initiate the takedowns. I mean, get one. Just show me one. Give me one takedown. Make him think about it. There was never a thought. It didn't even say a thought. No.
To even let's shoot this takedown. Let's even make him think about hey, I may be trying to take this fight to the ground. I don't understand why. I couldn't wrap my head around it. I'm like, if you get this fight to the ground, there you have a lot of options. And then he gets back up to his feet. You're getting rid of his advantage. His advantage is his 94-inch reach and his fucking 140-inch, leg.
Inseam, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, it threw me off. I mean, not a big fight IQ move, but he also showed that he can stand with him. Also showed that he can get it.
He did.
He can deal with those guys. And I think he had a lot of confidence and he felt like he probably wasn't getting hurt or he felt like, I feel like I'm winning this fight. I felt like he was winning the fight in the second and the third, but didn't go his way. Shitty situation.
Waldo Cortes-Acosta taking on Robelis Despaigne. I'll tell you what, this every fight I've ever watched of Cortes-Acosta, which is quite a few of his fights, just about all of them, You know, he wants to be the stand-up guy. In this one, he became a wrestler, and it worked for him. Like, he was able to take the bigger man down. He was able to be in the top position, and Robellis definitely showed that he does not know how to wrestle. He does not have any kind of ground game at all. You know,
like at all.
No, at all. And it shows. Look, he's not ready for where he's at. No. You know, because he's got you know the option of being in a stand-up war with someone that wants to stand with him, but now everybody in you know the UFC heavyweight division is going to you know sign to fight him. I'm going to take him to the ground if I can. If I don't, okay. If I get knocked out, okay. But we're going to the ground. I mean, the blueprint is there, and it was done very well by a guy that wasn't even a wrestler.
Who does he remind you of?
Which one?
Despaigne.
Who does it remind me of? It reminds me of a much bigger Kevin Randleman.
That's because of the dyed hair. No, but he reminds me of a Renan Ferreira.
But he's also put together. Who?
He reminds me of a Renan Ferreira. Like tall,
Really?
long, quick hands, you know, confident on the feet, but when they hit the ground,
Yeah.
you know, I think Ferreira's got a little bit more grappling than him, but not much. But Ferreira, like, remember when Ferreira fought, I think Gustaf last year in the finals, got mounted in the first round, and then comes out and gets the knockout in the second. But I'm simply saying, like, he got taken down, he fell into mount or had mount put on him right away, struggled from that position, but then came out and got the knockout in the second. I see the same thing with him. Fast, explosive, quick hands, all of these things. You know,
strong.
He's going to have to learn how to wrestle. These heavyweights, lazy sons of bitches, man. They've got to learn how to be a full MMA fighter. I'm telling you, the ones that have mediocre wrestling, John, could be world class.
But you could see with Robellis, he's practicing. He's trying to learn wrestling because you know you saw him when you know Cortez comes into him to take him down, and he's trying to sprawl at a time that no, he's got a body like don't sprawl right then. But he's doing those things. You know, it's like it's just not. It's not intuitive.
Is that your idea of practicing?
It's not just part of who he is.
Because I feel like he maybe just learned that shit in the back warming up. Because that's how shitty that was.
Yeah, well,
like I mean, just be honest. John.
I didn't say it was good wrestling, but you could see that. You know, look, he's gone through wrestling stuff. He just doesn't have the ability to pick out the right thing to do right now. It's just not part of who he is.
I mean, the way he moves around on his feet, the way how fast he is when he was fresh, I'm like, man, this guy could be anything he wants to be. You want to be a football player? You want to be a basketball player? What do you want to be? Like, just tell me when you grow up, what do you want to be? And we'll make you that. That's really what it came down to. Because, man, he was fast, explosive, accurate with his shots. He just can't wrestle for shit. So we got to work on that. You spend, like, okay, let's say you fight again in, say, 4 months. 6 months. Let's say 6 months. Give you 2 hard months of hard wrestling with mediocre high school kids. They don't have to be world class.
They don't have to be world class.
They don't need to be. We just proved tonight they don't have to be world class. They just need high school level wrestling. Show me high school level wrestling, and I bet you he goes a lot further in his career, 100%. Because, like you said, this is like we said earlier. This whole sport is a rinse, wash, repeat. The blueprint's been laid out now on how to beat them. People are gonna be like, sign me up for that guy. All I got to do is just do what Randy Couture did to James Toney. Low level ankle pick, right to the top position. That dude is not getting up. I'll take the easy money every single time.
Come on, be honest. Think about this, okay? You know, because you talk about that, but that's the guy that you would pull out a low ankle pick. Because first off, a low ankle pick is something you don't do in MMA. No. You don't do it. First off, there's no boot to grab a hold of. It's a slippery ankle, right? But when Randy pulled that out, I was like, that was brilliant. Because you look and you go, of course. But
you're not uppercutting me from there.
Exactly. You're not doing anything, right? You can't kick me down there. And you look and you go, against him, might not be a bad idea. Because
there's no submission threat. There was none with James Toney. There's no submission threat with Despaigne. There's nothing. Like he's not worried about. He may try to get hammer fisted, but if you just cradle up and put your ear next to his thigh or next to his calf, nothing much has happened. You could scoop it out. You could drive underneath, come on the backside with the Iranian. There's so many options you have from there because this guy has no idea what he's doing when it hits the ground.
That's it.
I'm not trying to stay on the feet.
And
with this dude.
his whole thought process as you're on his leg is what?
Hit you.
Get away.
Yeah, get away or try to hit
Get
you.
away.
But you try to hit me, though, it's going to make it even easier for me to take you down. You know? All right, next fight.
All right, we had Chase Hooper taking on Slava Claus. I love, Vyacheslav is a great guy. Boy, he got just annihilated in this fight. And
Early stoppage. Look,
hell no.
John, did he tap?
No. Yes.
That's not a tap.
First off, stop. It is because where was his hand?
He was trying to
sticking out there
escape,
like
and his
this.
hand just touched. He was trying to escape.
No. His hand is sticking out, and this is why. Look,
Your hand sticks out in the darts. It does.
Not in the way that he did. And once it comes down one time like that, and you are in the submission, hey, they're going to call it. So that's on him.
Fucking Keith Peterson.
I understand. It wasn't.
It wasn't Keith though, was it?
It was a good call. It's a call that anyone would have made based upon he's in that submission. You have your hand just sitting out there, and then seconds later it slaps. They're going to make the call. It was the right.
How much of that was because of the beating he had taken the whole fight?
Obviously, a lot of it.
I mean, because if I'm fresh,
that doesn't matter. You know, this is the whole
would you
point.
still
You're
stop
not fresh.
it? But would you? It does matter. You're letting the earlier outcome dictate whether that was a tap or not. That's bad
First off,
refereeing.
Keith Peterson could have stopped that fight many times.
Was Keith the ref?
Okay.
Well, he was the ref. Okay, I was making a joke because I was waiting to say like, oh, of course he fucking messed up. He smells like liquor and booze and smoking.
But the whole thing is this. I'm watching it, and obviously, when Chase lands the shot that puts him down, you go, whoa, okay, and from that point, I mean, he just dominates him throughout, but. He gets to mount. He's hitting him with shots, and they're noodle arms. I mean, it's like go to an elbow. Finally, he goes to elbows, and this is where when you're Keith Peterson, you're like, really? Because Chase goes to elbows and he starts to land some good elbows, and then he goes back to noodle arms, and and it's like, Jesus, now you're not hurting him, okay? And then finally he'll go back to a couple elbows, and Keith gets close, and he goes to noodle arms, and you go, are you kidding me? What is wrong with you? Just continue on so I can say this guy's not defending himself right. And then, because he's getting hurt, you can see he got hurt. Giant goose egg, that was from the elbow. But Chase Hooper needs to figure out, once you start going with those elbows, do not stop. Continue on. You would have gotten your finish without the darts.
Bad stoppage. But it was not. I get it. I understand. I'm like, he was getting manhandled everywhere. I expected him after the first round to come out and be like, okay, look, I'm going to stick and move. I'm going to stay on my bike. I'm going to touch you. Yeah. Man, he got taken down in seconds.
Yeah, but again, like you're saying, that was because of what the beating he took as far as just being dominant. And he was working hard to try to get himself out at times.
Oh, absolutely. Just not the right way.
Yeah.
Because there was no escape from Chase Hooper. But let me go into the Chase Hooper situation. He came into the sport as a really skinny little twig young boy, okay, and he came into the
145
UFC.
pounder.
Yeah, and he is now married, now has a kid on the way, and you can see him filling out physically. And man, you got to still slow play him a little bit because he's still so young, 24 years old. He must be Mormon because he's already married, has a kid on the way. I'm trying to figure out
No, he's just a nice kid.
Fucking lives in Utah. Got like 7 wives and shit. But he's gonna have 40 kids by the time he's 30. This guy. Oh man, but still, just to see him filling out, because I was concerned about him earlier in his career when he was taking some big beatings.
Oh yeah,
I told you, I'm like, man, this kid's so young. Maybe he needs to go to back to the LFA, or maybe he needs to go to some smaller shows. Maybe he needs to go back to the Dana White Contender Series, get some fights. Unless the UFC wants to build him up a little bit, he's very likable. Ben Askren's son, and so there's a lot of history there, that we can build on. So I thought that they're doing. I was expecting this to be a lot tougher fight for him, But physically,
So did I.
when I see him, though, John, he looks like a completely different young man.
He's starting to fill
Yes.
out. He's starting to become a man. At 24, 25, that's about the time when you would expect it. Hey, it's happening. He's still not going to be the guy that's the strongest guy out there.
No.
That's never going to be it. But, technique-wise, he's got good technique. His ground game he floats on top. Some of the transitional things that he did, really nice.
Yeah, it's the way he came from when he was like starting to lose mount or starting to lose back,
Yep.
then he came to the top position, was able to keep his legs hooked. But his body style doesn't mean that he has to be the strongest person. He's going to give people problems because of his length and his leverage and all of those things.
Absolutely.
Whether it's on the ground or on the feet. I honestly I don't know where he's training for his stand-up, but I truly believe that if he was smart, he would get with Stephen Thomson. And he would start trying to work with Stephen Thomson because utilizing. Remember Ryan Hall had the shitty kickboxing that he called, but it was all to set up his grappling. Sure. If you take the Stephen Thomson effect of the long kicks with like MVP or Stephen Thomson, with the long kicks, the long range punching, hiding your kicks behind your punches, blinding them with your hands, and man, these guys are going to be trying to close the distance to get into you because they don't want you to outbox them or outkick them from out of the range, and then that puts them right where you want them in clinching range. You can clinch them, knee them, body lock, lift. Like, I think he doesn't have to be the strongest, and he's got a bright future. I'm looking forward to it. I know this was a one-sided fight, so I don't want to get too high on it, but I like the kid a lot. He's got a good energy about him, and like I said, by the time he's 30, he'll probably have like 40 kids. So I'm rooting for that guy. He's gonna be another Diego Ferreira, just with like 5 kids in like the next 5 years. Jeez, good for him though. I'm glad he got the win. I was concerned about him in his career, his health, and all that stuff because he took 2 fights. I think he took 2 beatings in a row. I think it was what it was.
Yeah, he did. He took a couple of ass whippings. Let's just put it the way it is. And you looked and you said, physically, he just was not prepared against his opponents as far as, and I'm not saying it was his fault. It's time. He was too young. He just didn't have the actual man strength that he needed at the time. But he's coming into his own. But he looked good.
But the takeaway from those early fights, though, John, as I point my finger in your face, okay, is the takeaway is he never quit.
No,
that's the takeaway.
The kid's tough.
Yeah,
he's got. You cannot doubt his toughness as far as his ability to be the nail at time and not give up. So he's in that position of he's so young.
Yeah.
We'll see. He might end up, by the time he's 30, 31 years old, he might end up as a welterweight.
An 85-pounder. Shit. All right, next fight.
Going in, Esteban Ribovics against Terrence McKinney. Boy, did this one turn out different than most people would have expected.
So long, man. It was kind of boring.
As a first-round fight. Dude. The first thing I thought of when, it's funny because you brought him up was Stephen Thomson. Mm-hmm. As soon as Esteban hit, he throws a right hand, right kick follows it. Something we used to tell, when you're training people, don't do that. That's not good because if it misses, now you're really out of position. It's a bad thing. Stephen Thomson started making it popular in MMA, and people follow it, just like you were talking about. Once people show that it can be done and how to do it, and this young man from Argentina, boy, he freaking nailed it because McKinney, as that right hand goes, you see those hands coming down. He did not expect that kick coming up, and it landed clean. It hurt him, and you know that when you've seen it enough and you've been hit enough, when someone gets knocked out, I always say, well, it didn't hurt. That one hurt him. Oh. You could see the physical reaction he was having as he was coming back. That one hurt him. That was like a Cyborg Santos, Evangelista, not Chris, but when he got KO'd by Michael Venom Page with the breaking of the skull, he was hurt. That hurt him. And that was the same thing I saw out of Terrence McKinney. But I was super impressed with the young man from Argentina.
That knockout reminded me of Rashad Evans and Sean Salmon. Was it Sean Salmon?
Yeah.
Sean Salmon. The way he set it up, the way he just, and it landed clean. It was shin to chin. Like Sean Salmon was right across right across the front of the face.
Man,
it was just nasty, clean, hard shot. Came off the exchange. And I've always thought that the best way to hide those things is like the same thing with the Nate thing. Dip low, hit the body, and then come up top with the head kick. This time he threw the left hand, then threw the right, and then right behind the right hand came the kick. You don't even see it coming. All you know is the fighter, when they slip the right hand, they're dipping that way, and their hand's not there anymore because their hand's over here on this side thinking they missed it. And then the kick came right behind it and bink right on the button. Hit him right below the nose and across the chin, the mouth. And that was like, oh, that was nasty. And the way that McKinney hit the fence, I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
He was stiff, but the fence was making him, kind of holding him up a little bit. And his face was making facial expressions.
It was. Yeah, he was out.
He was out. So I thought that was a little bit of an early stoppage also, but... Keto George doing the duck lips. That's right, baby. Oh yeah, those of you guys at home that can't see it, or you guys are listening on the audio platform.
There was a movie made once for you. If he dies, he dies.
If he dies, he dies. Man, I like Terrence McKinney though, so
do I.
I hope he's not going anywhere. I don't think, but I mean, he's a young kid. He's got a lot still left.
Yep.
All right, next fight.
All right, Tabitha Ricci against Tisha Torres Pennington. I can't get rid of the Torres. I'm sorry. It's Tisha Torres, the Tiny Tornado. This was actually it was a good fight. It was both had their moments where they did well. I thought Tisha was she allowed the clinch time against the cage to last too long without framing out, making things happen to get herself off of it.
Do you think she lost?
Time run by. Yeah, I did.
I had Tisha winning, but like I said, this was not, to me, this was not a robbery. It was not.
No. It was close, and I would have been fine if it went the other way. But I had Tabitha winning 2-1.
Got it.
For coming back off of having a baby and everything, I'll tell you the thing that I was super impressed with was her freaking cardio.
I was like, they fought at a fast pace.
Damn. Just incredible. I mean, you talked about, women seem to come back even better after having her cardio was freaking on point.
Her timing was a little bit off.
Yeah, a little bit.
Those things. And then you could tell that she seemed a little kind of confused in the clinch stuff, she wasn't on point with that.
Did you see where it almost looked at times when she would make her attack and she would start to throw and then she would throw her last one and kind of just stay there.
Because she didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Just out of routine. Just timing's off. 2 years away is a long time,
Yeah, it is.
Some fighters are like, a year, I can not deal with the ring rust. No big deal. At first round, you get through it. 2 years is a long time. And not to mention, you changed your whole damn body. She still looks the same, I know, but let's just be honest. I mean, she carried around a something inside her, a baby inside her. So she was definitely different. So, but no, I thought she fought a fantastic fight. She fought at a great pace. The timing on the striking was a little off. She was reaching a little bit too much.
I thought that was the difference in the fight.
Yep. Yeah. But good for her. I mean, I thought it was good to have her back. I like watching her fight. She's just one step away from getting back on track and getting, into the top 10 again. I think she'll be there. She's definitely exciting. She's fun to watch. Next fight.
Great fight between Trey Waters and Billy Goff. Man, these guys went at it. These guys absolutely. I mean, after the first round, they were both exhausted. Exhausted.
John, I went out to throw some steaks on the grill, and I come back in, and the way that they were finishing the fight, I thought it was the end of the fight. And it was only the end of the first round.
First round. That's it.
I was because they were so tired. I thought they were gonna hug. I'm like, wow, no respect at the end of the fight, because they just walked back to their corners, and I didn't think that I thought it was the end of the fight. It was only the end of round 1. Then they got down with round 2, and I still hadn't even I was like, oh, it must have been round 2. I didn't even look to see if it was round 2 or not. I thought that was the end of the fight. And they still had another round. I was like, you guys looked so tired after the first round. They were exhausted, man.
This is one of those fights. Afterwards, I wish it was like, all right, draw, because they both gave everything. They both fought their asses off. I don't want to see a loser in it, but Trey Waters, the cleaner striking by far. He uses his length very well. Goff really put on a gutsy performance going after him the way he did and pressing but it's not only that forward pressure, you got to land.
Yeah, see, I would have given it to Goff.
Yeah.
I would have given it to Goff.
I have no problem with that.
He had forward pressure. He did land. His strikes didn't have as much significant power behind them, but he did land more of them. So I guess I know we're doing the damage thing, where we're judging the damage. But if you only land 2 damaging strikes and none of them put me down, but I landed 7 or 8 that kind of hit you back a little bit, I don't know. It's one of those.
Okay, all right. Think about it. This is what we talk about. I'm going to give you a choice. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give you can hit me with 4 jabs. Pop, 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 pop. Okay? Mm-hmm. Good jabs. They all hit. Or you can land 1 big right hand on me. Which one are you going to take?
Yeah, I'm going to take all the jabs.
You lying son bitch.
Oh, you mean like is in terms of judge? No, I'm trying to figure this out. Are you saying in terms of judging the fight? Which one am I going to take?
No.
Or which one are you going to let you hit me?
You're gonna sit there and you're gonna let me hit you
6 times.
I can hit you. I can hit you with four jabs, or I can hit you with 1 time with a right hand. Which one you gonna take?
Oh, the jabs.
There you go.
I just said that, John.
Yeah, well, I thought I had it reversed. Now I just said it a different way. I was saying you could throw 4 jabs or 1 jab. You said the 4 jabs.
I thought you meant the guy would take.
You're full of shit.
No, I'll take this. I'll take the 4 jabs with the 6 jabs. Oh, that's what I thought you said. Like, which one are you going to take?
No, not at first. I didn't say it, so I switched it on you.
I was like, that's what I just said, John. Why are you so argumentative? What's going on? He's like, it's the way you came across. You're so full of shit. I was like, what?
George, is he full of shit?
Oh, jeez. Always.
Tell him.
I can't confirm.
You can't.
I can't confirm.
Have you ever thought about running for politics, George?
No, my background's too seedy.
Oh, is it? Is it? Yeah. He gives the nice little wink. I love that. All right. The Charles Johnson and Jake Hadley fight.
We thought this would be a good fight, and it was. Mm-hmm. Charles Johnson came out in the first round, and he let Jake Hadley basically push him around, control where the fight was at. He was getting pressed. He was not comfortable. He got his ass chewed in the middle between the first and the second round, and that ass chewing actually had an effect because he came out as a different fighter, and he looked way better. He started the forward pressure. He put Hadley on his back foot, and it made a huge difference in the fight for him.
Yeah, when you realize that you're not that great of a fighter off your back foot, you've got to make the changes. And it doesn't look, we've seen world-class fighters in there, and they can't fight off their back foot.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. It's very difficult. Give me a couple guys that that have world-class ability to fight off their back foot. Chuck Liddell was one of them. Anderson Silva was one of them. Alex Pereira is one of them. Like, Alex is kind of always walking forward, though, because he's not concerned about it. Adesanya is good. He's off. Sean Strickland, he can do it. He prefers to pressure you, though.
He does not do near as well.
Not anywhere near as well. But I mean, he can do it, though, if he needs to. But like I'm talking about world class, I would say, it would be those guys. Give me some, like anybody else. Stephen Thomson can definitely do it.
Yeah, MVP can do it.
MVP can do it. They make their career off being counter strikers, but and they make their career off of their back foot because everyone's trying to take them down. Circling.
Connor does it.
Connor does
it.
Yeah, Connor does a good job of it as well.
Yeah,
very true. So there's only a handful of people that can actually do it in this sport. Can do it in boxing, in real boxing. Top level professional boxers still can't do it. They prefer to be the hammer and not the nail. And so the ones that have to end up all of a sudden now becoming the nail, they don't like to move backwards, and they don't know what to do. They can't make the decision inside the ring, or they can't make the decision inside the cage on how to make those adjustments. Sometimes the corners can't help them either because they don't work with them that way. Oh, you're so good at this. Let's just keep doing this. Well, you got to make those adjustments. And so, Yeah, in this position here, what's it called? Johnson just didn't have. He realized he just couldn't do it going backwards, and he had to start changing, took it in the center of the cage, using his speed, putting pressure. And the fact is that Hadley just let him do it.
Yes, he did.
So, got to make those adjustments in between rounds. If you saw you were working in the first round, you got to go out there and make sure he's not pushing you around at the end of the second.
We call it reestablish.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not the easiest thing to do either, though.
No, it's not. It's not.
No. John, I got to be 100% honest. I missed the first fight.
I'll tell you what, Veronica Hardy, Dan Hardy's wife, she's good. She creates angles well. She moves well. You know, she obviously doesn't have a ton of power. She's 150. I think they were 125 for this one, but I thought this was at 115. I'm just going nuts. But J.J. Aldrich normally likes to fight in the stand-up, and she was having some problems with Hardy in the stand-up. And I thought it was the right decision that Hardy won, but it was a close fight, good fight. You know, good way to open the show. But that's about it.
Was Dan Hardy there?
Yeah, he was in her corner.
I wonder how that relationship.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's weird, isn't it?
Seems very weird.
It's weird.
A little strange.
Well, we'll explain why. Dan used to work for the UFC. Well, obviously he fought for the UFC.
Yeah.
Then he worked for the UFC. Then he was released by the UFC, and then now he's with the PFL, and he's got a big role with the PFL, and now he's back wearing the funny part is when they're wearing the UFC gear. Yeah. I was like, guess who owns who?
And his wife fights for that company.
Yeah.
But you know what though? Good on the UFC though for not letting that personal shit get in the way and signing his wife.
Absolutely.
Good for them. Good for them. Yeah. Hey.
She's done well. She didn't have. I want to say she's now fought twice, 2023, 2024. Mm-hmm. But she had like a couple of years off before that, so she had a long layoff. She's come back and she's looking good.
Good. I don't know if we mentioned this or not, but we wanted to give a little bit of a mention to recently retired. Go ahead.
Oh, Mr. Matt Brown.
Mr. Matt Brown.
We did talk.
Did we talk about it?
Though. Yeah, we did.
Did we give him enough love?
I don't know if we gave him enough. We talked about it because we talked about his fights like with Eric Silva.
Oh, that's
Robbie
right.
Lawler,
Okay, now I've seen now.
And we did talk. Jordan Mean when he just dominated Jordan, who was a great fighter at the time, coming up from Lethbridge, Canada, and stuff. But yeah, Matt Brown. Yeah, the best part about Matt is he did it his way. He was someone like what's coming. He had a couple of fights if you remember. Do you remember his fight with Pete Sell?
I don't.
Pete Drago Sell.
I don't.
I want to say it was UFC. It was UFC 90, and it was in Ohio, which is where obviously Matt Brown is from, and where he lives. But Yves Levine was the referee of it, and Matt starts putting shots on Pete. Pete is in trouble. And Pete's falling down and getting up, and then Matt hits him again, and he falls down. And Matt's kind of like putting his hands out, like, "Hey, you gonna stop the fight? Hey, you gonna stop the fight?" And he starts talking to Yves Levine and saying, "Hey, stop! You're gonna stop the fight?" And Yves is telling him, "You just fight," but it's getting to Yves because Yves is now in the position of, "You're not gonna tell me what to do," which is not a good position to be in when you're a referee, and you should stop the fight. So he let the fight go way too long. And it was all based upon Matt being the guy saying, "Stop this fight. Hey, you need to stop the fight." And he's going, you're not going to tell me what to do." It's like, oh my God. But I mean, that fight was brutal for Pete. He took some damage.
We haven't seen Yves Levine since.
Yeah, we've seen him since. But there's another guy. He's retired and, doing well, but
UFC 96 also.
Was that 96?
Yes, John.
Damn, I thought it was 90.
Shame on you.
Terrible.
Also, I just want to say all the referees tonight that might have had a little difficulty, they should head on over to MMAreferee.com, sign up for the command course.
Thank you very much there, George.
Gain
a little knowledge and figure out how to do things with headbutts and things like that.
Yeah.
Or unintentional clash of heads. Yeah, we got to change up what they're doing. Very good job there, George. You're a good man.
Yeah. So what are the dates on that, John?
The date is July 26th, 27th, 28th.
It's in Las Vegas at Extreme Couture's.
Yes,
I
sir.
don't know why, man. I get tongue-tied when I say couture. I don't understand why. At Extreme Couture's, yeah. But it's going to be there July 26th, 27th?
6th, 7th, 28th.
Oh,
3 days.
All right. You guys just take over the gym, push all the fighters out, and say, hey, it's my
Then
time.
we kick all those. Sean Strickland, you're out of here.
Yeah.
No, actually, what we do is we use those fighters. We actually pay fighters to get into the cage to do. Obviously they're not fighting, but they go through and they put on a really good mimic of a fight. Mm-hmm. We'll give them scenarios that we want them to do that the referees have to pick up on. So we use the fighters out of one of the reasons I go to Extreme Couture. He's got so many fighters that young kids that want to do it because they get to learn too. So. It's a good thing for them, and it's a good thing for us.
When I was younger, John never invited me because I could have used this fucking knowledge back then.
Hey, you can come to this one.
This is right. I can. I'll be in California during that time.
Really?
Yeah, so it's a lot quicker of a flight.
It's only it's a 4-hour drive. Well, no, if you're up in Northern California.
Yeah, it's an hour and
longer.
20-minute flight. I think it's not far.
Yeah, see, if you're in Burbank or LA, it's only like 40 minutes.
Yeah, I would never be in that area.
Would never.
All right. So what is there anything else you got for us there, George? Or is that all of it? It's going to wrap us for it.
We can wrap up, but if you want to do one thing, we can.
What do you have?
Let's hear
Tell
it.
me what you got.
So recently, Sean O'Malley released the sparring footage of him TKOing Pantoja, the 125 champion. Did you see that?
Okay.
I did not see it.
I didn't see it. I did
Can
not
you
see
show
it. I heard about it.
I wish you could show it to us.
I heard that there was a whole. It was basically there was a couple things that have happened. Suga Sean is in the news, man. He is hot. He's on fire. And it's also his coach, Tim Welch.
I saw that. He's burning not burning. He's stoking all the fires. That's what he's doing.
That's it.
He's been with Merab, talking trash to Merab. He's like, he told Merab, like, you're still mad at me because I said your nose was big? Like,
Yeah, we're gonna.
this is great.
Target-
And then, okay, let me see
target
what
his
you got there,
nose.
George. That's Pantoja. There he is. Jesus. Okay. You press play.
Let's go.
Okay.
I know a little bit about this whole scenario.
And this was before tattoos, it looks like. He's got the one on
Yeah,
his...
this is actually when Sean O'Malley is an amateur.
Oh, wow.
He's an amateur at this point. There was a kick to the liver right there.
Yeah, the first kick at the beginning right there.
That right there.
I was expecting like a punch or something.
Everyone was.
No,
That shit don't count because that doesn't. Come on, man.
No, people fight.
What are you talking about?
Well, hold on. This is the whole thing. Is Sean O'Malley was an amateur at the time. They bring him in. He didn't have a fight or anything. He wasn't in shape, and they bring him in and say, "Hey, it was Henry Cejudo. Why don't you spar with Pantoja here?" And so he spars with him. He does the kick. The kick lands. Pantoja asks for some time because it hurt, and he didn't want to, just gut his way through it. He's like, "Give me a second," which happens in training all the time. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then afterwards, as the rounds going, they actually made Sean do more rounds than he was supposed to, and Pantoja, did much better in it. And it's like, hey, it's training. Stop.
Not only that, but let's not forget, one's the 25-pound champ and the other one's the 35-pound champ. That's one. Like, sure, you're an amateur. That's fine. You can say you're an amateur at the time. You're still talented. We're not, and also we're talking about practice.
Thank you. We're talking about practice.
Come on, man. Allen Iverson should have warned all you guys about practice. We're not talking about practice, man.
How, and this is what happens when, all of a sudden, things start to heat up. Well, I've got tape. And it's like, stop with the I got tape. Don't show the tape. He just showed the tape. But it's like, you look and you go, what happens in practice stays in practice.
Yeah, I mean,
it's supposed
there's been a lot of times where, like, I've hit some guys with some knees. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, come on. Come on. I like, look, if you don't think that Pantoja's going to fight through that in a real fight, you're out of your damn mind.
Do you know how many times he has?
Right. Right? Like, shit.
It is what it is. But the other one, Tim Welch, that one's burdened because he's definitely he got called out for basically talking to Aljamain Sterling during the title fight.
Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about that.
That's something I did want to talk to you about. Go ahead. Sorry, John. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Go ahead. What do you want to?
I want to know because I know you at one point in the UFC, corners were not allowed to corner. Correct.
Corners were not allowed to corner.
Corners weren't allowed to corner like during the fight. Correct.
The corners were not allowed to talk to an opponent.
Oh, okay.
You're allowed to talk to your fighter, but you cannot talk to an opponent or talk to a referee through your fighter either. Meaning, oh, don't worry about the referee; he's an idiot, or don't worry, the referee, he's going to stop the fight. You couldn't do that. You could tell information to your fighter just like you can now. But if you go to the unified rules, it's number 27, and it will talk about corner interference. And one of the things that is in there now, the way it's phrased, is basically that a corner person cannot do anything that causes a problem in the fight. So to sit there and say, does Tim Welch telling Aljamain, you got to go, is that going to be something that causes a problem in the fight? I
mean, it obviously did.
No.
He jumped right in and it was over.
It's fun. Remember Drew Fickett?
Oh, yeah.
I had a fight with Nick Diaz and Drew Fickett. And one of the rules of the unified rules is abusive language. You can't use abusive language against. Well, Nick.
Oh, yeah.
And so, and I had some great ones with like Frank Shamrock against Nick. But, and I would go in, if I went into the locker room with him, I'd say, look, you know what? You're going to say shit and he's going to say shit. And as long as I'm the only one that hears that shit, I don't give a damn. Mm-hmm. Do you understand me? But if it starts to get outside of other people hearing it, then it's going to become a problem. You're going to make it my problem. I'm going to have to deal with it. So don't do it. Just make sure that he can hear it. If I hear it, no problem. Other people are hearing it, it's a problem. And that was based upon Nick Diaz fought Drew Fickett, and I'm doing it, right? And he's calling Drew, come on, you fucking bitch. Hey, bitch. Come on, bitch. Hey, bitch. And I'm telling him, hey, Nick, keep it down. Nick, keep it down, right? He's a bitch. Come on, John, he's a bitch. It's like, God damn, dude. I'm trying to help you. But yeah. So you got to look at, some things and say, how much effect is it having in the fight? How much of a detriment is that in the fight? You're stretching to say that, Tim, did something that made Aljamain actually get knocked out. I don't think so.
I mean, he said you got to go, and then he went and got clipped.
He didn't say how he had to go.
Kind of have a good case.
He didn't say. Hey, throw a big looping left. Okay,
John, kind of has a case. But look, we know the commission doesn't like to be wrong, and they're not going to overchange this. They're but I'm simply saying
that's why I said this is a stretch.
It's a big stretch.
Stretching too much.
It is a little unsportsmanlike, but it is.
Can be.
It is what it is. I mean, look, let's be honest. You should know the sound of your corner's voice.
Okay, let's be honest. How often did you hear other voices?
Never.
There you go.
Never.
You hear your coach. Yeah. You heard Javier and you heard Bob Cook, and you fucking just zoned in on those voices. It's
funny because I had friends that would sit, and they'd always tell me, like, I'm sitting front row, and I'd walk out to the cage. I'd walk you do the little circle around, jog, warm up. You look, you see them all sitting front row. Yeah. Never once did I hear their voice.
No.
Never.
And they're screaming.
Never.
And they're screaming.
The only time I could ever, the Jay-Z fight, I had a cut on the side of my head. I think it was the Jay-Z fight.
Yeah, he hit you with an elbow.
Yeah. And John Fitch I was touching my head, and John Fitch looked at me and just started yelling at me. Like, what the F are you doing? Fight. don't worry about your stupid fucking cut. He started yelling at me, and Koscheck was just like, he just didn't know. There was that, and then I remember Kane yelling at me after I rocked Nate. He was like yelling excited, but not yelling me any instructions. I can remember hearing Kane's voice. Yeah. You know, outside of that, nope, it was always Bob and Hov.
Yeah.
You know, I remember Dave Camarillo quite a bit. Those three guys. All right, well, hey, that's going to wrap up our show today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hit that subscribe button down below, the bell and the thumbs up. Go to our descriptions down below. There's also another link there for LMNT, which is something that we use. John's been using it quite a bit out there on the farm. I've been using it for my jiu-jitsu training in the morning.
For today.
I want
that to be... Dude, I was out in the sun the whole day.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, man. I got to use it before I run. I got to use it a little bit afterwards because otherwise if my body feels depleted. What it is for those of you guys that use Liquid IV, I'm telling you guys right now, this is a way better supplement for you guys to use. It's called LMNT. You guys click our link down below. If you guys buy through that link, they will send you like a care package of something as long as you buy one of their mixes. So make sure if you guys buy some of the mixes that are available, they will send you like a free gift with it, whether it's more packages. They just released their canned LMNT drinks. Absolutely amazing. I love them. Look, John and I are kind of two people that we've got to kind of like the product. You know, most sponsors, everyone's like, oh yeah, you can just do it. I'm like, nah, I need to like the product, especially when it's something I'm putting into my body. I've been very meticulous about that. That's why I still look as good as I look. But LMNT is something that I got to be honest, I wish I would have had this when I was training for my fights because I didn't start learning about salt loading until the second half of my career. It was very important. I know that a lot of people do like pre-workouts and they do all this other stuff. Look, if you salt load in the morning with a liter of water and you do this with LMNT in the morning and then you go and you wait about an hour 20 and then go get a run in, you're going to notice a big difference in your performance or in your grappling or
just how you feel.
Yeah, on how you feel. And then after you're done, get a little bit of sugar in you. And what I mean by sugar is like berries with some yogurt and some honey. And then you drink another element, or you mix another element for yourself. Put that back in your body. I'm telling you guys, your energy levels will increase tenfold. It's been amazing for me. I've been really enjoying it. So check them out. The description's down below. In the description down below, we have a link there. Click it. Only through that link will they send you like a little extra package with whatever you purchase. All right.
LMNT, not just don't think of EL.
Yep.
Get rid of the E's. It's LMNT.
Yep. LMNT. Perfect. All right. So check them out if you guys want. Also hit the subscribe button down below for our Clips channel. George's been doing a great job, man. And for those of you guys in the comments blowing me up about Podcast Dave, homeboy's not leaving, guys. Give him some space. He's getting married.
He's getting married.
Getting married next week. So, yeah, you guys, come on, man. You guys got to get this thing. I understand. Dave's part of the crew. He's not going anywhere. Okay, George is here to stay, hopefully as well.
Hold on,
as long as he still likes us.
I didn't read the comments. What did someone say about Podcast?
No, they're constantly asking did we fire him? Did we let him go?
Damn right, we fired him. Damn right.
But I've had a couple that I actually screenshotted and sent to Dave because they were pretty ruthless.
But we made a deal. If Paul Craig lost his next fight, Dave was out. No more Scotland.
I thought it was absolutely amazing. So some of them were, anyway, some of them were pretty funny. Some of the comments that they wrote, but no, Dave is getting married next week. He'll be gone for probably a week or two after that, I think, and then we're gonna get him back. But right now we got Keto George, and I think Keto George is gonna stick around a little bit too.
But we're keeping George.
Yeah, we're gonna keep Keto as well. So
we all like George.
Look at the little hearts. He's trying to do the hearts.
Yeah, look at it. Look at how's he doing that again, man?
I can't do it, man.
How do you do that?
That shit don't work.
Stuff. What? I'm too old.
I don't know. Yeah, the technology don't work for us old people. Sons of bitches. All right, John, take us away, buddy.
Sons of bitches. For everyone out there, I hope you enjoyed the UFC. That was a good card with a lot of good fights. Everyone out there, do me a favor. Give a prayer to Mr. Art Jimmerson and his family. Rest in peace, Art.
One last thing.
What?
Happy Mother's Day, everyone. To all the mothers out there.
True. To all the mothers out
Day.
there. Happy Mother's Day.
What an asshole.
They don't.
And I want to wish to your lovely wife, John, happy Mother's Day.
To your lovely wife also.
Okay. And George, to your mother, happy Mother's Day.
She's doing work,
okay.
So
yep.
That is it's a rough one, man. I'll tell you what. But everyone out there, happy Mother's Day to all the ladies, and we will see you.